get to the news. Government regulators on Friday seized control of Silicon Valley Bank, the country's 16th largest bank, after it quickly became the 178th largest bank. That's right, government regulators on Friday seized control of Silicon Valley Bank, making it the largest U.S. bank failure since 2008. And come to think of it, it was always a bad sign that their ATM had a tip screen. President Biden spoke this morning about Friday's collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and reassured Americans the country's financial system is safe. But remember, this is a guy whose whole financial system is definitely a coffee can on a high shelf. See, the thing is, they never look up there. That's right, President Biden reassured Americans the country's financial system is safe. Okay, I think the fact that you're talking about a bank collapse proves it isn't. That's like going to a funeral and giving a eulogy about how Nana's gonna be fine. The Oscars were held last night, and the film Everything Everywhere All at Once won 7 awards, including Best Picture, Best Picture, Best Actress, and Worst Butchering in a Text from Your Mom. That's right, Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture at last night's Academy Awards. As for who lost, whoever sat behind this lady. Oh my goodness, my first Oscars. When asked last week about allegations that he participated in a credit card skimming scam, New York Congressman George Santos said he was innocent and added, quote, "I'm no mastermind of anything," which is maybe the first believable thing he's ever said. Elon Musk is reportedly planning to build a town outside Austin, Texas for his Tesla and SpaceX employees that he has described in meetings as a utopia. I don't know. Have you ever been to a party where one guy has a Tesla? Now imagine every guy has a Tesla. A tattoo artist in India recently set a Guinness World Record after spending over 90 consecutive hours giving tattoos to 64 people and hepatitis to 63 people. Today was National Canine Veterans Day. It's like regular Veterans Day, except no fireworks. We have a writer, Mike Scollins, who's obsessed with the idea that dogs don't like fireworks. A lot of his jokes are dependent upon people knowing that and caring. And finally, according to a new study, reusable water bottles can have 14 times more bacteria than a pet's water bowl, but only because your cat drinks out of it every time you turn your back. President Biden signed an executive order today that increases background checks on gun purchases. From now on, gun dealers are going to ask your first and last name. Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley said on Sunday that taxpayers, quote, should absolutely not bail out Silicon Valley Bank, but I think that's largely because it's polling ahead of her. The Pentagon said today that a Russian jet crashed into a U.S. military drone over the Black Sea. And I think I speak for all Americans when I say probably an accident, right? This doesn't have to be a whole thing. Let's go with accident. Russia is reportedly restoring hundreds of decades-old Soviet tanks to use against Ukraine amid a shortage of weapons and equipment. Oh, they are struggling. Next, it's just going to be any way to trick out these T-shirt cannons. Fox News host Brian Kilmeade interviewed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over the weekend and played catch while wearing suits. It kind of ruined the flow of the interview, though. So, Governor, what do you think the U.S. role should be in the war? And oh, wait, car! That's right, Fox News aired an interview over the weekend where host Brian Kilmeade played catch with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at a high school baseball field in Iowa. And no surprise here, their fathers chose not to come out of the corn and reconnect with them. Democrats are reportedly worried that efforts to ban TikTok could make it harder to reach young voters. Well, you can do what Republicans do and reach them on Venmo. just a thing that happened. I don't know why everybody's so weird about it. Former President Trump has reportedly been invited to testify before a New York grand jury as part of the Manhattan District Attorney's investigation into hush money payments that were made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. And despite everything, Trump was still excited to get invited to something in New York again. I'm back, baby. Any word from the Met Ball if they reached out? California Congressman Mark Takano recently reintroduced a bill that would make a 32-hour work week a national standard, which would finally give Americans the free time they need to look for a third job. Microsoft is set on Thursday to hold a Future of Work with AI event, and this is scary. None of the executives can remember organizing it. Playboy is reportedly planning to relaunch as a digital-first magazine. And dude, I just found my dad's stash in his closet. The New York Times published an op-ed today titled, "Working from Home is Less Healthy Than You Think." Oh, how unhealthy could it be? I mean, oh crap. Is that a ghost? The NYPD is looking for a group of teens who allegedly stole more than $40,000 worth of calculators from high schools in the Bronx. Said the teens, actually, it's $41,672. That's how you do it, right? In my mind's eye, it also had that little paper thing that was a and all right, we're gonna go. Oh boy. How hopeful are you guys based on this photo? And finally, a clam was recently discovered in Florida that's believed to be more than 200 years old. And like most 200-year-old clams in Florida, it moved there from the Upper West Side. You guys, that was a monologue. It's officially a monologue. President Biden spoke today in Las Vegas about health care. Oh, you mean that place where everyone smokes indoors and it's cool to have 7 a.m. cocktails as long as you haven't been to sleep yet? Yeah. Sure, health care in Vegas is a major priority. After Russian fighter jets forced down an unmanned Air Force surveillance drone yesterday over the Black Sea, the White House said Russia's actions were, quote, unsafe, unprofessional, and reckless. Well, yeah, I mean, it's Russia. Of course they're reckless. They think the Jackass movies are meditation videos. After a U.S. drone was forced down yesterday by a Russian fighter jet, Russia's ambassador to the U.S. denied that the two aircrafts collided, and Putin is claiming the drone just fell out a window. In a new interview, former President Trump said that his upcoming book, Letters to Trump, will show readers that he has had a, quote, very fascinating life, while the fact that we have to call that guy former president shows that all of us have lived a very fascinating life. A student at Princeton University was arrested this week for his alleged participation in the Capitol attack, which means even the Capitol building is easier to get into than Harvard. At a rally this week in Iowa, former President Trump said that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis reminds him of Utah Senator Mitt Romney, also Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. A group of Senate Democrats called on several retail chains, including Costco, to sell the abortion pill, though I'm not sure that's going to work because most people would rather raise a child than go to Costco on a Saturday. According to a new survey, people who live in rural areas are more depressed, anxious, and neurotic than people who live in cities. Sounds counterintuitive, but then again, I've never seen truck nuts on a yellow cab. Want to? Taco Bell has announced that next month it will remove the quesarito from its menu in order to bring back two popular items, napkins and the bathroom code. And there was an awe on the quesarito coming. Did you hear? What a terrible, go to a show, try to have a laugh, and then you get terrible news about the quesarito. And finally, St. Patrick's Day is 2 days away. Well, you know what they say. It's 2 days from now somewhere. The Biden administration has reportedly warned that it will ban TikTok if its Chinese parent company doesn't sell the app. Don't mess with this man. He has no use for your addictive apps. Biden's the kind of guy who can make it through a whole 2-week vacation with nothing but a deck of cards and a print edition of Sports Illustrated. You know what we're gonna do during dinner tonight? We're actually gonna talk to each other. That's what. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen testified today before the Senate Finance Committee and said the country's banking system remains sound. Specifically, this sound. The new CEO of Silicon Valley Bank held a meeting yesterday with venture capital and startup clients and said, quote, "There is no safer place in the U.S. banking system to put your deposits. Plus, if you go now, the lines are super short." The Pentagon today released footage of a Russian jet forcing down a U.S. surveillance drone. Apparently what happened was they both tried to take off from LaGuardia at the same time. UN officials recently discovered during a routine inspection that around 2.5 tons of uranium have gone missing in Libya, which explains why Libya's beaches have experienced a 600% increase in Godzillas. A zoo in Michigan recently announced the birth of a critically endangered bongo calf, which apparently is an animal and not a medical condition suffered by Matthew McConaughey. I got real bad. The American Kennel Club announced yesterday that the French Bulldog has surpassed the Labrador Retriever as the most popular dog breed. So, you know what that means for you lab owners.
He was my dog. I'll do it.
So, our writer Mike Scollin submitted that joke, and look, we didn't have to do it. You know, I'm the host of the show. I could have just said we're not doing it, but I wanted to do it because I'm trying to teach him a lesson, and there's the undergirding logic of that makes no sense. That implies that everybody who's had a less popular dog until today had to put their dogs down. It doesn't, just because the important thing is, you know, it's the start of the show. You want to kick it off. You want to get a good vibe in the room, and we showed a clip from Old Yeller. So. And finally, longtime Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers said yesterday that it is his intention to play next season for the New York Jets. It's a perfect fit because every week the Jets go out there intending to play football. And that's what's waiting for you here, buddy.